Welcome to the Mike Frederick Show, presented by Aria Health and 1490 WBCB. I'm Sean Lerman, along with head coach of the Neshaminy Redskins, Mike Frederick. Coach, how's it going today?
Not bad, thanks.
All right, well, we'll start with Friday. You guys fell to Downingtown West 28-7, but there were definitely some bright spots in that game. One guy in particular who I'm sure graded out pretty well in the film was Matt Magdalinskis. 10 tackles, he had 4 carries for 25 yards. I'm sure he was a guy that you saw a lot out of in that game.
Yeah, Matt's had a really great start to the year. He needs to be a little bit more consistent, but he definitely makes plays, and that's what you need. You need a mixture of playmakers as well as guys that are continually doing their job play after play. He's one of those guys that can impact a football game.
Matt, on the defensive side of the ball and offensive side of the ball, had a nice one, as we said. And offensively, he had those 4 carries. He had some success with them. Is that something we can expect to maybe see a little more of moving forward throughout the season?
Yeah, we have 3 really good tailbacks. DeAndre had a heck of a football game. He had 24 carries for 185 yards or so. And, we need to do a good job because he's playing some defense as well to make sure that he's fresh. Feel really good about getting Matt the football. I would see him getting some more touches, certainly as the season goes on, as well as Will Dogba. He had a couple of nice strong carries as well. So we feel really good about the tailback position, obviously. Our issue is how do we balance that with 2 of those guys starting on defense and then Will getting some defensive reps as well.
What did you see out of quarterback Mason Jones in this one?
Mason played well again. I mean, he's taking care of the football. We started out slow. I think we were 3 for 10 in the first half. I think there's a couple of throws he would like to have back, and that happens, week in, week out to every good quarterback. But to be, 50 attempts throughout the season, he's got the 1 interception. But other than that, he's really made good decisions, taking care of the football. We're moving the ball pretty well between the 20s, so we're pleased with his play at this point.
One thing that Mason did well in the game was hit a number of different receivers. It wasn't all the passes going to one particular guy. He really spread the ball around. Is that something that's a product of the play calling, or is that more Mason just going through his reads?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. Mason does a really nice job of being able to read coverages ahead of the snap. Coach Keeney and Coach Wilmot have done a really nice job mixing things up. I think in hindsight we look back and we probably would have preferred maybe a couple more high percentage throws in the first half to get him going. They did a nice job against him coming off the edge, and we picked up the majority of it. They had the 1 sack, but he's a guy that doesn't get rattled much, makes good decisions, and the play calling has helped because, obviously our guys are doing a good job of mixing things up and making primary targets different on each drive. Now,
the running game, you mentioned DeAndre had a big game, bounced back from that first game where he was in the 50s in his yardage and then 185 in his pass game. Was there any difference in the way DeAndre played, or was it more the offensive line that opened things up for him?
Well, the first game was one of those games where we were 18 plays in or 20 plays in, and we were down 3 or 4 scores. And whether you like it or not, you have a tendency to get away from what you do well because you realize you only have a certain number of possessions, and yet you're fighting a clock battle as well. He really did a nice job late in the second half against Gonzaga, pounding the ball, and it started to open up some things on the outside as well. So, the emphasis was there to get him back involved from the start. Obviously you need a competitive game in the first half, and that helps as well. And his effort was phenomenal. He ran with a lot of heart, a lot of grit, and I think a lot of the other guys on the team saw that, and we're really inspired by the play of him. And we need to do a good job of keeping him fresh, but also realizing that he's an exceptional talent that you need to use.
The coach of the Trenton Freedom, Kevin O'Hanlon, was up in the booth with me for the game, and one thing that he kept bringing up during the game was he saw a lot of fight out of your guys, especially in that second half when the score was maybe a little bit further away. He saw that your team just kept going, kept plugging away. Is that something that you and the coaching staff also saw?
Yeah, going back and looking at the tape, I mean, 2 games in a row now, there's one thing that we haven't questioned. It would be the fact that they continue to compete. We don't have an exorbitant amount of depth, right? So, guys playing 2 ways. I mean, you have some conditioning concerns, and it's something we're looking to build up, and we have to manage that process as a staff. But overall, very pleased. The mistakes that we saw, whether they be mental mistakes or effort mistakes, have been addressed, and they're things that our team realizes. We're not at the point where we can get away with that kind of stuff and win football games.
Going into this one, you guys shuffled around the offensive and defensive lines a little bit. How did that turn out for you?
On the offensive side of the ball, getting Parker Minotti back was a plus. He had been out for the majority of camp with a shoulder injury, and he's a good quick guard, and I think that enabled us to move some other guys into positions where they were a little bit more natural positions. So we saw some progress from the offensive line. On the defensive side of the ball, we continue to roll in new guys. I mean, we're on the defensive front. I want to say we had 8 or 10 guys take snaps, and the idea of trying to keep them fresh, and we got a lot of new players up there. I know, we don't have any returning starters, so they're all first time lining up and trying to do what we're asking them to do. And our defense is not one that's overly simplistic in nature. So we're going to need to probably simplify things a touch, especially with the inexperience. But I would expect to continue to see a number of guys play on that front.
We'll step aside, take a quick break. When we come back on WBCB1490.com, we will preview Neshamony's game against Council Rock South this Friday.
The ARIA 3B Orthopedic Institute is redefining care in Center City and South Jersey. And our 50,000 square foot location on ARIA Health's Bucks campus in Langhorne features private rooms, free parking, and nearby hotels. With over a century of experience, the world-class 3Bs, Doctors Booth, Bartolozzi, Balderston, and their partners personally guide you from treatment through recovery. For all your orthopedic needs, call 1-888-ORTHO-3B or visit aria3bortho.org. At the ARIA 3B Orthopedic Institute, you come first.
If you are looking for a car, where do you go? Faulkner Auto Group at 4427 Street Road in Trevose is where to go for the best deals in Bucks County for all your new pre-owned cars, trucks, or SUVs. Go to Faulkner Auto Group. It's always Faulkner, to be sure. Go online to faulknerautogroup.com. Just remember, it's Faulkner, to be sure, for all your new cars or trucks. 4427 Street Road in Trevose. Faulkner, to be sure.
Welcome back to the Mike Frederick Show, presented by ARIA Health on WBCB1490.com. I'm here with Coach Mike Frederick of the Neshamony Redskins. And, Coach, let's look forward a little bit. You guys play Council Rock South this Friday, 7 p.m. You're coming back home for this one after the one-game road trip. What are you looking forward to about coming back and playing here at Heartbreak Ridge?
Well, we're excited about the opportunity to get back in front of our crowd. I think it was a neat experience for our guys to go into Downingtown. It's a good setting. It's a good place to go play football. I thought their crowd did a nice job as well, and our crowd turned out in numbers as well on the road, which was nice to see. But there's nothing quite like being at home.
Now, looking at the team and what you want to see out of them this week, what is one specific thing from the offense that you'd like to see maybe build upon moving forward in this game?
I'd certainly like to see our completion percentage increase a little bit. We were pleased with the running game. I'd say the point of emphasis is in the red zone, the plus 20s. We got in there 3 times the other night. We're only able to score once. That's just not, it's not good enough. We need to punch in touchdowns. Field goals don't get you a lot of wins, but we weren't even in a position where we could, take those kind of points and try to get a win that way. So we need to do a better job in the red zone, and then obviously we'd like to, try and complete some higher percentage passes. Love to see the same thing we saw last week out of the running game.
And on the defensive side of the ball, something that you'd maybe like to see a little more of?
Yeah, again, the point of emphasis this week's got to be getting off the field on 3rd and 4th down. We have many opportunities in 3rd and long, and those are moments where you have to win, right? You have to have somebody make a play and somewhere in front of the sticks and get the ball back. And they were all punting situations. So, they were 3rd and 4th and long, deep. Whereas if you stop them, even if they get 8 or 9 yards in the play, if you stop them short, you're going to get the football back. We need to do that. We need to get the ball back. Emphasize some more 3 and outs, maybe an extra turnover or 2. I think we've got 1 turnover each of the first 2 games. So maybe cause an extra turnover or 2, and then I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
Taking a look at Council Rock South in particular, when you look at the film, watching the team, what is something that you see offensively that they like to do?
Well, they run a lot of different wishbone sets. They run some plays that have been successful for decades. Coach Bedison's father, who's a legendary coach here, ran some similar things here, and we're gonna be challenged because it makes you play assignment football. Somebody's gonna have to be on the dive back, on the quarterback, on the pitch back, and that hurt us a little bit last week. Even though they ran a slightly different spread, wing T misdirection offense, this is similar in that you're going to have to play to your assignments, and again, for an inexperienced team, that's new to them. So who has the fullback on any given play, who has the quarterback, who has the pitchman, and it can change based upon formation and coverage. So it's quite a challenge on their offense. I think their running back number 26 is playing extremely well. Quarterback number 7 is making some great decisions. So we've got a challenge ahead of us. I think our guys are excited to take it on, and we'll see Friday night.
And then defensively, what do they like to do as their base set?
Yeah, they run predominantly a 4-4. It's not unlike what we run here. They will blitz out of it at times. They don't tend to blitz as much as what we saw last week, but they're more often than not they're going to be where we expect them to be. But they run their techniques very well and they're sound. It's hard to beat them deep. They play a pretty deep secondary, so how we can be able to take a couple shots against them at the same time, being able to move the football, run the ball. It's going to be a neat combination of how we can have one thing set up another.
If there was one thing that you would say, this is the key that I really want to see, and that'll give us a good chance at winning for this week, what would that be?
If I had to pick one thing, it would be get off the field on 3rd down. One thing. Obviously there's multiple things. I think we have to start scoring some touchdowns. We got to be better in the red zone. We got to win the turnover battle. The things that you hear week in and week out, which affect football games. We can't have bad plays on special teams. We've had one each week now where we allowed a long return and then we had the snap over the kid's head, which put our defense in a bad spot. So, but if I had to pick one thing, it would be those 5 or 6 3rd and longs. Get off the field, get the ball back to our offense, and let those guys do what they do well.
All right, Coach. Moving on to some other things. You've been a head coach for a couple of games. You've got your feet under you. What are some things just about coaching in general that maybe surprised you?
Well, it's I'm not sure what has been the most surprising point, but certainly the impact that you have in and around the community. People are well aware of how we're doing. They're aware of things that we've changed, things that have been different from the past. I'm not a big social media guy, so I don't follow what outsiders have to say about how we're doing. But I have a pretty good feel for our team and where we stand right now and how good we are, where we need to improve. And I'm really hopeful for them that we can start getting them some wins because they've worked hard and they've earned it. But at the same time, you got to go out on the field and you have to execute and you have to do it. And no one in this league and with these teams we play are going to give you a win. You are going to have to go take it. And hopefully we're ready to take that next step this Friday.
All right, Coach. Good luck this Friday. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
This has been the Mike Frederick Show, presented by Aria Health on WBCB1490.com.